Hey, Killer Awesome Truckers, how are you doing today? I am Shep, and we're going to be doing a React video. Just mainly, it's not so much that the video bothers me or anything. Actually, this is a little different because I'm trying to get a little bit more information. I'm trying to dig in to this whole lease operator thing with Swift. Now, I know I'm not going to get the answers that I'm looking for from Swift because they're just going to talk it up and tell me everything that I am going to want to hear. That's not what I'm looking for. I am actually looking for information directly from the drivers that have been in this lease program, and if they were successful, why? Oh, and if they're not successful, why? It's a puzzle. It's a riddle. There's got to be some type of explanation as to why some of them are being successful and why some of them are not. Now, I'm sure some of it is that some of them are willing to work and others are not taking it seriously enough. But I'm also thinking that there are cases where there are people that are trying to work, but they're not getting the loads. So how can they be successful if they're not getting the loads to be successful? Do you see what I'm saying? So how much of it is on the driver and how much of it is on Swift? Or is there just no pattern at all? Is it just kind of the roll of the dice? That's what I'm trying to find out. So this video, and I've been referring to this video in some of the comments. I think I referred to it in the last video that I did in regards to having an interest in going into the lease thing with Swift. Not anytime soon, in a year. This is from Everleigh Logistics, and I really hope that he does some more videos and is transparent as he has been in this particular video. As you can see from the title there, live from Christmas, edited and audio fixed. So in this video, it's an hour video, so we're not going to go through the entire thing. I'm just going to go through the things that really got my attention. He goes over the load board, the Swift load board. So far, this is the only person I've seen that actually went into detail in regards to the load board, and he also went into detail in regards to his statement, his expenses, and his income. So let's go ahead and let's watch this.
So like I said, there's not much on here because it's Christmas night.
Okay, so it's Christmas when he's recording this. Now take a look at this is the load board. This is what he's got. Now he says there's not a lot. He says that there's not really a lot here, and there's usually there's more on there. But I mean, I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing quite a bit of possibilities here. Well, there's like nothing in Florida, but it looks like there's a couple of loads in Georgia, maybe North Carolina. Nothing around Chicago area, but there is here. So depending upon where you're at, you may have some good opportunities. Like there's some stuff here in Phoenix and the Dallas area and Oklahoma City. There's some stuff in California. This is what I was talking about in the last video, is that I want to be able to have the flexibility to where if a planner or driver leader, whatever, cannot give me what I'm looking for. I mean, if they can keep me going, great. But if they're not getting me to where I want to go, or they're just like, well, I just have this 100-mile load here for you, I want to be able to have another option. And this load board here looks like a great option. So let's listen a little bit more to what he's saying here.
Let's take a look at California because that's where I am. All right, so right now there's Jurupa Valley to Fontana.
Okay, so Jurupa Valley to Fontana. We already know that's going to be the Swift yard. Fontana isn't that's the other Swift yard, isn't it? From one to that's only 13 miles. That's kind of a crappy load right there. It's a drop though. I mean, if you want to grab something real quick and just go drop it off, maybe. 13 miles, that's not really that far. I don't see how that's worth it. I think he does make a comment on it though. But look at the other two here. There's a 362 mile load. It's a light load. It tells you even how heavy it is. There's a 214 mile load. I know that you're thinking, yeah, these are kind of lame, but you'll see some other stuff that shows up here.
Anna, Fullerton to Glendale, Arizona, Calexico to Santa Fe Springs, Anaheim to Buckeye, Victorville to Salt Lake, Chino.
Okay, so here's a 605 mile load right here. That's from Victorville to Salt Lake City. I'd take that. I would take that load. I don't get paid for the empty miles, but I don't care. You know, I'll grab the empty trailer. I'll go and pick up the load, and off I go to Salt Lake City. Right below that is another one, which is Chino, California to, what is that, Corinne, Utah. That's 718 miles. Once again, I'll just grab a trailer, go and get it. You know, I don't care if I get paid for the empty miles or not. If I'm booking this load, if it's a load that I can just go run and get and take it, absolutely.
Chino to Corinne, Paris to Tolleson, Redlands to Bloomington. So right now, the only thing really coming out of California is just local stuff back to California or Arizona.
That Redlands, California is 12 miles. That's another crappy one. They should just give that to a local driver. I don't even know why it's on the load board here. It's ridiculous.
Or Arizona and Utah. But so the way that the Swift pay breaks down is it's done by mileage. So depending on how long the load is will depend on how much you get paid. I don't have it on my screen right now, but I do have it on my phone. All right, so anything that is 1 mile to 250 miles will pay $1.36. 251 to 350 pays.
Okay, so this is the sliding scale. So this is what helps even things out between the short loads and the very long loads. Like if you're doing that 13-mile load, you're getting $1.36 or whatever a mile, which I know is not a lot. I mean, like you're making $20 off of that. But then if you get a fuel surcharge for that, I don't even know if that would even be worth it for 13 miles. Probably not. But maybe you're making more than $1.36 a mile with the fuel surcharge. Again, I don't know how that works because I've not done this. I've not done any type of owner operator, lease operator, or whatnot.
He pays $1.31. 351 to 500 pays $1.27. 501 to 800 pays $1.19, and anything over 801 pays $1.15. I mean, it's not big money, but it's dry freight. Dry freight doesn't pay that good. And then you got to remember that's not including your fuel surcharge. So let's see here. Let's look at this Fullerton to Glendale, Arizona. 362 miles. So that would be on the $1.27 scale. 10 cents per mile for the West Coast fuel surcharge, so that picks up in California and goes to Arizona. So that'd be $36.20. So that load from Fullerton to Glendale, Arizona would pay you $625.89. It picks up on the 26th, delivers on the 26th.
Okay, so $600 for a one-day load? I don't know. I mean, that's not your take-home pay. But for making that much money in one day, in some cases, you may already have your truck payment right there. So if you can do that in one day and do some, I mean, I don't know. Maybe the math doesn't math. it's hard to look at this and really know for sure until you're actually in it. And so far, this is the only guy that I've seen that actually goes into detail about this stuff. But this is the only video I've seen where he does that. He's a trainer also, which means that he may have access to better loads than what a solo driver would have, since he is going to have a student and he's going to be teaming and stuff. I don't know. Maybe the load board is the same no matter if you're a solo driver or a team driver. I would think it'd be the same, but you never know. I mean, they may have it filtered in a certain way to where solo drivers only have access to certain loads as opposed to team drivers. So, once again, I can only go by what I'm seeing here.
6-hour drive for $625. Not great. It's not what Prime would pay you for something that short. But I would take that load if I was leaving tomorrow and needed a load. Because if we go back to...
He mentions Prime because he used to do a thing with Prime, and he's got some pretty unkind things to say about Prime. All warranted, in my opinion.
Go back to the load map. We can see there's only 8 loads in California, but they got 13 in Arizona right now. So $625 to get over to Arizona. We got Phoenix to Tolleson, Goodyear to Nampa, Idaho.
Okay, look at this. Goodyear to Nampa, Idaho, 945 1 pound. Oh, okay. That, they're just not reporting how heavy it is. But look at that, 945 miles. If I was anywhere near Arizona, let's say I don't know, let's say I was in Yuma, Arizona, or Tucson, or maybe I made a delivery to that Purina plant that's up there in Flagstaff. I almost had one of those one time. I would drive on my dime. I would drive the empty miles to go pick up that load in Goodyear and go run that 945 miles. Are you kidding me? I'd do it.
Goodyear to Nampa, Idaho. Goodyear to Tracy.
Seeing that Goodyear to Tracy, California, although I wouldn't want to drive back to California, but that's 682 miles there. What is this, Phoenix to Phoenix? 1 mile load? What the hell is that doing? There's 2 of them. Look at this. There's a 1 mile load, 1 mile load. That sucks. There's another one for 682. Oh, that's another one. There's like 2 loads from Goodyear to Tracy, it looks like. Okay, I'm just curious. Where is Tracy, California? Okay, Tracy, California is near San Francisco. That's not necessarily a bad thing. You could go make this delivery, and there is a terminal somewhere around here. I haven't been. Is it Manteca? No, I'm thinking of something else. I believe there is a terminal over here in Tracy somewhere. But even so, what is this, the I-5 right there? Let's see if my favorite little stop, there it is. So as soon as I was done with that load in Tracy, I would totally take it. I would totally take this load, because I would go from Tracy and I would just drive empty over here to Santanella. And you folks know I've been here to Santanella a few times. They've got there's a TA over here, but I like this. Was it the TA that I stopped at? I think. Yeah. The TA usually had a lot of parking, from what I can remember. The Loves, well, let me look at it. It kind of sucks. This place had some make-a spots, but there is a restaurant here, the Pea Soup, Anderson's Pea Soup, which is great. I love that restaurant. So I would totally do that Tracy load, and then I can just drive over here to the TA and park for the night or whatnot.
Waddell back to California, Goodyear to California, Nampa, Idaho.
Yeah, it looks. What was that? The second Nampa, Idaho? I don't know. Here's another one: Arizona, California, 359 miles. It all depends upon where it's going. If it's an area that it's going to that I'm like, oh, I know I can go find a place to park if I go there. Sure, I might go ahead and do it.
California, California. I mean, so it'd get you a load back to California, or you could go to Idaho.
I'd go to Idaho.
But more than likely, if you were to take that load from California to Arizona, by the time you got to Arizona, the planners would have you something out of Arizona going to either the Midwest or the East Coast. I mean, that's one thing I like about Swift is, so let's say we did that load to Arizona. I could call, as soon as I was loaded, I could call the planner and say, hey, I deliver at noon. What do you got? And if they got something good, they may be like, oh, hey, well, where do you want to go? And you can say, oh, I want to go to Florida. You may have a load to Florida, and they'll just give it to you.
Okay, so you may have noticed that he had said, yeah, I can just pick up one of these loads and then tell a planner or whatever that, hey, I'm going to be in Phoenix at a certain time. Can you get me something? Oh, yeah, where do you want to go? So he's got the ability to get loads from planners where he'll get paid for the empty miles, or he can just grab something off the load board. So, I mean, essentially, if you're there in California or Arizona, you could just take loads back and forth, I suppose, or take a load up to Idaho like what we saw, and that's probably what I would have done. Or maybe taking that Arizona load over to Tracy and, go get it done, go park for the night, or, if there just happens to be another load in the area, grab it and start getting it down the road or something. Yeah, sure, I would do that. But that's why I'm saying I want to be able to have that flexibility. The flexibility of contacting a planner or a driver leader saying, hey, I need a load, or I'm going to be here. Can you get me set up for another load right after that? And if they're like, well, not really seeing anything right now, but we'll get back with you. I'm like, oh, okay. And if for some reason they don't get back to me as quickly as I need, or let's say I go to the load board and I manage to find a load myself, I can just go ahead and grab it right there. So, but once again, how does all this work in practice? It's saying it is one thing, but how does it actually work when you're actually doing it? We don't know, because no one has shown it. No one has shown themselves in the actual truck saying, okay, we're about to make this delivery. Let's take a look at the load board and see if we can pick something up in the area. Has anyone done anything like that? No, they haven't. No, they haven't. So that's why I'm hoping this fella here with Everleigh Logistics will do more videos and show the load board and stuff like that, because I even left a message. I left a comment on his video saying, hey, I want to be able to see more of this. It's been like 3 weeks though, so I'm guessing that he's a trainer, so he's probably busy with a student. If it's been 3 weeks, that's about right. So he could be busy with a student right now.
Let's take a look at some more of these loads. Let's look at Oklahoma. That's the load that I actually had to get home. Took a Hobby Lobby load out of Oklahoma City up to Redding, California. Let's see, we got Durant, Oklahoma to El Paso.
Okay, so here we go. Look at this. Durant, Oklahoma to El Paso, Texas, 690 miles. Here's another one. Durant, Oklahoma to Evansville, Indiana. That's more miles. I would take that one, but I think that would get me set up in a better area for better loads too. 747 miles. Look at that. The one all the way towards the bottom here, 779 miles. They're not heavy loads either. This is great. I like it when they're not heavy loads, because you don't have to go and scale them because you know they're not going to be overweight. I like that. It's just less time that you have to waste.
Let's see, we got Durant, Oklahoma to El Paso, Durant to Evansville, Indiana, Durant to
Indianapolis, okay, yeah, that's decent. There's another one to Evansville, Indiana. I mean, Indiana, that's close to my uncle. He's in Ohio, so shoot, I could just, I could go do a load like this, maybe see if there's something I can do that's short to go into Ohio, get that delivered, go find a place to, go bobtail, find a place to park, and I could visit him for a little bit.
Durant to Indianapolis, Durant to Evansville. See what these Durant loads are. Big lots. Okay. So more than likely a pretty light load.
Yeah, Big Lots. I don't think I've made a delivery to Big Lots, but that shouldn't be too big of a deal. And what is this? One of these is from a distribution center. I like how we got addresses here that we can take a look at, and it's got a stop. Okay, so it's got 2 stops. You've got 1 stop and then the destination. So let's just look at this first Big Lots 2009 Memorial Boulevard. I'm pretty sure the distribution center will be fine. Let's just say that you're still kind of like a little shaky in regards to backing. It's like in general you're okay with backing and stuff, but you don't want to go into an area like New York, New Jersey, or some of those ridiculous places where you have to back in from a street or do some type of 90-degree backing maneuver. Let's just say you're just not comfortable with that yet. And since you're a lease operator, you sure as heck don't want to damage your truck. Not to say that you'd want to damage a company truck, but you get where I'm saying. But so let's just take a look at this address here. 2008 Memorial Boulevard. Let me pull that up here. Okay, so here it is. You can see it. Here's the Big Lots right here. And it looks like, well, yep, here it is. They'd have to move their vehicles. So I'm guessing this is where the dock is at. I mean, this is easy, right? This is not hard. Don't know if I'd be coming around this way. I might look. I mean, look at the tire tracks. That gives you a big hint right there. You probably just come in over here and turn real sharply, get yourself straightened up, and back her right in. No problem. That's assuming that's the one for the Big Lots. I don't know, because this is Belk. That's good. That's Goodwill. So where is the... Oh, look, there's a semi-truck right there. So the first delivery was in Tennessee. This is where the last delivery is at. It's here at this Big Lots right here. Now, can we see where the dock is at? Maybe that's the dock right there. This could be it back here.
14,000, 26,000, 22,000.
Now look at some of these other ones here. We got Durant, Oklahoma to Owensboro, Kentucky. That's 881 miles. Once again, I would take that. That's some good miles there. 687 for Jenks, Oklahoma to Hopkins, Minnesota.
Durant to Owensboro, Jenks to Hopkins. Jenks is a good load because that is a Kimberly-Clark load.
I've done Kimberly-Clark before, so I know what he's talking about on that one.
I used to, when I drove for USA Truck, they had a load board. I was actually one of the first drivers on their load board when they were still testing it. They used to do a lot of Kimberly-Clark out of Jenks. And I'd run from Jenks to Georgia, Georgia back to Texas, deadhead back up to Jenks, and just all I did was Kimberly-Clark loads off the load board. I think the heaviest load I ever did with it was maybe 8,000 pounds because it's mostly tissue paper. Freedom, Oklahoma to Dallas, Durant.
Here's another one. There's Durant, Oklahoma to Blaine, Minnesota, and that one is 847 miles. I mean, look at all the options that he's got here. Now, granted, that is all in the Oklahoma City area, but if you had the flexibility to maybe move to that area or relocate to that area so you can grab these loads, I think that's not a bad thing. Especially if you want to keep moving, as opposed to just, sitting in one spot, waiting on, someone to try to get you a load or something.
Dallas, Durant to Minnesota, Durant to Odessa. Let's see. What's the longest load on here? 687. There we go. Let's do the math on this Durant to Owensboro.
Okay, so we're back to the load map here.
10 coming out of Texas. Let's see. Tyler to Hodge, Louisiana. San Marcos to Louisiana. Fort Worth to Kansas.
Yeah, 400-mile loads, 200-mile loads. Some are like 180. The 401 isn't necessarily a bad thing if you can, grab it and get it done within one day. That's not such a bad thing. Even the 184-mile load, I mean, let's say you just finished a load, right? And you still got plenty of time on your clock. Maybe 180 or a 250-mile load is not such a bad thing because you can just go and grab it and, be done for that day.
Arkansas, Texas.
That 91-mile load, though, maybe we can skip that one.
Port Arthur to Charleston, 39,000 pounds.
Look at this load here, 958 miles. That's a full load, though. Look at that, 39,752 pounds. We're no margin for error on that one. You got to make sure that your tandems and everything are good. But, so yeah, you'll have to spend a little bit of time as far as getting it weighed and everything. But wow, 958, that's really good. Port Arthur, Texas to Charleston, South Carolina. Charleston, South Carolina. Let me look that up here for a moment. Okay, so here's Charleston. Savannah, Georgia's down there. I-95, so that's over here by the close to the coast. But yeah, so there's that load. So I would go to Trucker Path and just see, what kind of places are there going to be where I can park for the night or whatever. So that'll be all part of my trip planning. And once I go make that load, I can say, what, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to drive up here to the I-95. Or, there may be a mom and pop place somewhere out here somewhere that I can go park at. I don't have to take some other type of load out of Charleston or something in order to get that. Or I could just go find some place to park for the night. And then the planners might have something, let's say, like in Columbia. And then if they do, then I'll get paid for those empty miles. Or maybe Savannah or something. But like I said, it's all about flexibility. Having that flexibility to whether I can go either way. So yeah, so this is what I was also talking about. He's looking at this on Christmas night. And he says there are usually more loads on here than what's showing. So that would mean you would have more flexibility. So when there are people out there saying that they're not getting loads, what exactly is happening? Do they not have access to this load board? Do they have access? Are they filtered to where they only see certain types of loads and other drivers are getting offered different ones? I mean, what's going on here? Because like from what I'm seeing from this guy, it looks like he can get loads from a planner. He can go to this load board and grab something and be on his way. But then when you watch these other videos or read people's comments, it's almost as if that's not the case. So what is the case? That's what I'm trying to find out here.
Tomorrow morning, it's going to explode. End up in Georgia a lot.
Okay, so let's say we took that load to South Carolina. Well, here we've got some things we can take a look at here. There's a load. Well, I don't think I would want to take a load. I don't think I'd want to deliver in South Carolina and then go drive on my own fuel to get a load from Georgia to go back to South Carolina. That wouldn't make any sense.
Locust Grove, South Carolina, Georgia to Georgia. Fort Wayne to Edison, New Jersey. Fort Wayne.
Okay, so I mentioned that I have an uncle that's out there in Ohio. There's that one thing where I could go make that delivery in Indiana. You know, like I could go visit him, and then I can go to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and take the 638-mile load. There's a couple in looks like there's a couple ones from Fort Wayne to Edison, New Jersey. Well, I'm not sure I'd want to go to New Jersey. Unless it's a distribution center. But, you know, here again, let's say there's a delivery that's in New Jersey and it's a distribution center, right? It as far as getting in and out, no problem. As soon as you're done, you can just hightail out of there. Okay, now you no longer have a load. You can just use the rest of your hours and get out of that area and go find a good place to park. And if you run out of hours, well, that's okay. Just go to Persica Vance. You don't have a load on you. You are now personally moving your truck without a load to go find a safe place to park. You have that option as an owner op or a lease op. As a company driver, you wouldn't have that option.
Fort Wayne, Edison, New Jersey, Greenwood to Rochester.
Oh, Rochester, New York. That's not too bad. I think I've done a delivery. I know I did a delivery to New York, in the northern part of New York, and I think Swift has got a terminal up there in Rochester, if I remember correctly. I hadn't been to it. I wanted to go to it one time. But New York as a whole is not bad. It's just that New York City area. But other parts of New York are just fine. You know, the east part, the north part. Actually, driving, when I was going through New York, driving into northern New York was a very pretty drive.
So not bad. I mean, most of the loads that you'll find on the load board are usually between 5 and 900 miles. Every once in a while, coming out of California, you'll find something going to Ohio on there. I've taken a couple off the load board coming out of California going to Ohio. I don't know if they're still going to be on there since Christmas is over, but there's usually a lot of Amazon loads coming out of California going to Ohio and Missouri and Tennessee. There's a couple that go over to New Jersey or up to New Hampshire. I know we did, again, I don't know if they're still going to have them because Christmas is over, but I went to Florida, I think 3 or 4 times this month with Ross loads coming out of Moreno Valley, California, down to...
Oh, yeah, the Ross loads. Those are good. I've been on a couple of those Ross loads. Those are like West Coast to East Coast. And you want to talk about some good miles, the Ross loads are it. I've done like maybe one Amazon load, but nothing from California that would be going cross country like what he's saying. But I have had some other stuff that have some pretty decent loads. Sometimes going to California is not too bad of a thing because it can almost be like a launch pad to the other side of the country.
California down to Miami or Orlando. Those are good loads because we get there 2.5 days, get a load back out of Florida up to either Georgia or Alabama and get something out of Alabama going straight back to California. And get another Ross load going straight back to Florida.
Yeah, there you go. So, once again, if you've got the flexibility to be able to pick your loads, in addition to maybe getting something from a planner, then you could do what this guy is saying. Get one of those Ross loads that goes all the way out to the east. Maybe it goes into Florida. There is a Swift terminal down there in Florida. Parking in Florida is like really bad, from what I understand. But at least we have a terminal there. Or you can just drive empty and go up into Georgia on the I-95, and there's some places you can park. I know that from experience. I know places that you can park that are just, they don't get filled. But you have that option as a owner operator. You don't have to worry about being stuck somewhere where you can't safely park. And then, like you was saying before, you've done that cross-country load. Now you can maybe do like a short one or something to get you up into a different area, and then get another load that takes you all the way back to the West Coast. And you're just kind of going back and forth, back and forth. And that is one great way to keep running, which is what I would would hope to do. But again, how does this work in a practical day-by-day situation? I mean, he's just looking at this for one day. How does it work in practice? Let's say he was showing, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this load here. And then when he gets there, he's like, okay, we delivered it. Let's take a look at the load board and see what we got. He's not doing that. And no one out there is doing that. And that's frustrating, because I would like to see how it actually works on a day-by-day basis.
What do we have in South Dakota? Sioux Falls, the Liberal, Kansas.
Look at this. So in South Dakota, there's a 611-mile load, 45,000 pounds. That can't be the total weight. That's over, isn't it? Isn't that over the amount? That looks extremely heavy. Anyways, South Dakota to Kansas, Liberal, Kansas. If, let's say, I was around Montana or something, I might be able to just drive out there. Let's say, say you're stuck up there around Montana and there really isn't anything. You could say, you know what? I'm just going to, so I don't get stuck up there, I'll just go ahead and drive on my own dime, go grab this load from South Dakota, get down to Kansas, and there'll be some better loads down there. It's better to maybe spend some money on some fuel to get yourself in a better area than it is to sit there and not make any money at all.
Going to National Beef. So that is probably cardboard boxes, since it's going to National Beef.
We got some addresses there. Let's take a look at this. Let's say, how desperate are you to actually take this load? And if you're still trying to figure out your backing and stuff like that, is it going to get you into trouble? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at this address here. 2101 East 39th Street North in Sioux Falls. Okay, here it is. This does not look bad at all. This doesn't look hard. I mean, it might be a little bit tight here, but I really don't think you're going to have a problem here. I wouldn't have a problem here. I would take that. But what's the delivery like? Okay, here's the delivery, and it's just in this dirt area. Some of these are not the greatest places as far as trying to back in, because it's all over the place. So, like, trying to back into some of these areas is a little hard, but sometimes you get to an area like this and you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to take this loaded trailer and just drop it right here, and they can figure it out. And you just, you drop it, put the landing gear down. You don't worry about it empty. You just get your paperwork signed, head on out of there. So, and it looks like there's more areas to park. That looks like a docking area there. So, look, there's even more back here too. Yeah, I do it. I would not have a problem doing that load right there. And Liberal, Kansas. Where's that? Okay, that's down here in South. Okay, that's not too bad actually. I know some places from here that I could probably, because this is really close to the border of Oklahoma and Texas. There are some places that I know I could go drive and go park if I needed to. There's probably something around here. That's what Trucker Path is for.
The other thing with the load board is right now, since it's still technically in its infancy phase and they're still kind of testing it out, it's only available to dry van. So you'll only see dry van loads on here. There's no flatbed and there's no refrigerated. I believe it's in the plans to incorporate flatbed and refrigerated into it eventually, but right now it's only for the dry van side.
Okay, and so since I'm not planning on doing this Lease Operator thing for another year, it's very possible that in another year, refrigerated loads will be on here. And then if I'm able to take a combination of dry van and refrigerated, that's just more options.
And it's only if you are OTR dry van.
Yeah, so there's not going to be regional or local on here. But here again, those loads that are like, that we saw that was like 9 miles, 13 miles, what is that doing on an OTR load board? I mean, seriously.
It's coming out of Colorado. Beer loads, like always. You can always count on Colorado to have beer loads.
Yeah, he's right about that. Beer loads are a thing out of Colorado. And every beer load that I had, with the exception of one, there was always something that happened. Something wrong, something along the ways. It was like they were cursed. Something about beer loads, they were always cursed. There was always something stupid going on with that particular load. It was only one time that it didn't happen. So I always dreaded beer loads. But look at it, there's one that goes to Amarillo, Texas. Amarillo, Texas is like one of my favorite places to go. 434 miles. I take it. Go out to Amarillo.
Coors, Amarillo, Coors, Oklahoma, California.
Look at this one here. That's a beer run from Golden, Colorado to Susanville, California, and it's over 1,000 miles. And it's right there on the load board. You can book it yourself and go do it.
Clinton, New Mexico. That Aurora to Pruitt is a cardboard recycling load.
Yep. I have done that exact route from Aurora, Colorado to Pruitt, New Mexico. I know exactly what that is. You are taking the compressed cardboard out to Pruitt, and then you're getting a load out of there. He does not like the Pruitt, New Mexico one. I didn't like it at first. I kind of grew to accept it over time. It's really not that bad. But what he says in here is very true in regards to the docks being flooded. I've encountered that, or because the docks are closed and so it's all backed up. That happened, as a matter of fact, on the last load that I did with Swift when they gave me a brand new truck. That was the problem that I had experienced because I was getting a load out of Pruitt, and it was backed up for like 10, 11 hours. I just was like, yeah, screw it. I'm just going to go find a place to park and I'll be back in the morning. So I went there very early in the morning and there was no one there. So I got in, I got everything, unloaded. I got the next load loaded up and I was out. So it only takes one bad experience for you to figure out a better way to do it. And because there was one time I was there and the south docks were frozen and they had to close them, and I was out there for somewhere between 8 and 10 hours before they had me go to get unloaded. And that was a time when I still hadn't quite figured out the whole thing in regards to the split sleeper berth, trying to call driver support on like, hey, I'm not sure exactly how I'm supposed to do this. And the guy's like, well, you're just going to have to figure it out. Welcome to trucking. That was that situation. It was that location. So But yeah, after a few times I Pruitt, I kind of understand how that area works, and I don't have a problem going to Pruitt or taking a load there or taking a load out of there. I've been there probably more times than any other place that I've been to. I've been to Pruitt, so once you've been there and done it enough, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, if you ever get a load going to Biopapal in Pruitt, New Mexico, reject it. That place is a literal hole. Last time I was there,
It's not that bad. It really isn't that bad. You might want to stay away from it like during the winter because the docks would be frozen. But like I said, and you can call them too. You can call them and say, hey, and that's what I did actually with the Albuquerque when I went out to did that round trip to Albuquerque. I called them in the morning and say, hey, will you be able to get me in? And they're like, oh yeah, there's no one here. Come on by. So I went out there, and there are other drivers that they don't do that. They just go and they show up and then they sit there for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours or whatever. They work harder, but they don't work smarter. In my case, I'm just like, well, I'm not going to sit here this whole time. I'll just turn around and go find a truck stop and figure it out later. At least I can get myself a safe place to park, as opposed to not, because they won't let you stay there overnight. They have little signs that say you cannot stay here overnight. I mean, you can stay there and wait until you're called to your signal to go back to get loaded or unloaded, but you can't if you're out of hours, you can't stay there.
It rained like 2 days prior, and their entire dock was completely flooded, and they expect you to get out of your truck.
that that happens on that south dock. I don't know what it is about that south dock, but I have gone to it a couple of times. And there's a section right across from the docks that kind of goes down, and that thing just gets flooded with water. So when he says that the south docks get flooded, oh, I believe that. Just because of that one area that I've seen that gets flooded with water, I can see that whole thing getting flooded.
You to get out of your truck and walk through that sewage water, because that's basically what it is, to take them the paperwork. They won't come out and get the paperwork knowing that you have to walk through that nasty water to go inside.
Get yourself some boots.
So,
get boots and get those little rain things to put over your boots, and then you can just walk through that sewage water or whatever it is. It didn't look like sewage water to me, but anyways.
If you ever end up in dry van or just somehow end up on a load going to that place, reject it and run away from it as fast as you can. It's not worth it.
Nah, that load's fine. Honestly, that's fine. If you're trying to reposition yourself, you can go over there to Pruitt, and then there are some places that you can go and park until you can get another load. And heck, if you can get a load from a planter that's out of Albuquerque or something and take one of those loads, then you'll get paid for the empty miles if you do something like that. So, no, I don't think the Pruitt load is that bad. It wouldn't be my first choice, but I would not decline it if it was available. And that's basically it. That's as much as he's done with the load board itself. And so I wanted to do a video on that because, like I said, he's the only person that I've seen that actually pulls up the load board and shows. Now, he's not picking any loads up or anything. He's just saying, oh, I've done this or that, or I would do this or that. And it would be nice if someone out there who's doing the lease program would actually show this and how it applies to them. And they're like, oh, yeah, I picked this load off of here, but then I had a planner do this, and, like take us through the process, and no one's done it. And maybe this guy, Everleigh Logistics, will do that. I don't know. If he's a trainer and he's training a student, chances are he doesn't have the time to do something like that. So, But anyway, that's what I'm seeing. And so for those of you who are with Swift or were with Swift, and if you know about the lease operating program, is this what you've seen in regards to the load board? Has it been like this, or have you literally gone on there and you're just not seeing anything at all? I mean, according to this guy, and this was of December 25th, the load board is pretty active, and there's always something on there. So I don't know. Let me know. I'm curious. I like to do another React video on this particular one because he goes over his statements in regards to the expenses and stuff. But I want to think a little bit more on that before I do a React video on that, because I know that's another concern in regards to leasing, is how much are you spending, what are your expenses, how much are you getting back, etc. That's another thing that you don't see a lot of lease operator YouTubers doing, is they're not really, I mean, some will show something here and there, but you know, some of these content creators, they only want to show you the good stuff. They don't want to show you the bad stuff. You know, they just will say, look how much money I'm making. Look at all this money I'm making. You know, they don't want to show the bad stuff. You know, they're not being completely transparent. Or they show it once and they're like, I just don't want to do it anymore. So, I mean, that's not helpful, in my opinion. That gives you a little bit of an insight to the lease operating program, but it doesn't really show you. I don't see how that's helpful for anyone that really wants to make an educated decision on going into it. But anyways, let me know in the comments what you think. Like I said, I've got at least a year before I do anything like this. It might even be 2 years. I don't know. But it's definitely, nothing's going to happen for at least another year. And a lot can change in 1 year. And so this could be much better a year from now. We'll have to see. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on another video. Have a killer awesome day.